The noise is deafening right now. Matthews to the Devils. Matthews staying. McKenna as the face of the franchise within 3 years. Chayka meeting with Matthews and Berube. Marner thriving in another jersey while Toronto burns. The pundits screaming from every platform simultaneously with competing visions of what this franchise should do next. And underneath all of it, one sentence from Pierre LeBrun that cuts through every theory and every trade proposal and every social media hot take with the cold precision of a surgeon's blade. John Chayka is set to meet with Auston Matthews. And according to Johnston, that meeting is not changing Matthews' mind about his future. Leafs Nation, we need to talk about where this actually stands right now. Auston Matthews, Toronto Maple Leafs meeting John Chayka future uncertain TSN. Let's start with what we know from the reporting rather than what the rumor mill has manufactured around it. LeBrun confirmed on TSN that Chayka is preparing to sit down with Matthews and coach Craig Berube in the immediate future. That meeting was always going to happen. A new general manager inheriting a roster situation this complicated, with his franchise player expressing public uncertainty about his future, has to have that conversation immediately. The fact that it is happening is not surprising. The fact that it has taken this long, given the urgency of the situation, might be slightly concerning. But the new front office has been in place for less than 2 weeks, and the organizational priorities have been stacking up faster than any single executive team can process. What Johnston added is a part that should have every person in this building paying extremely close attention. TSN, the meeting is not expected to change Matthews' mind. Read that carefully. Not that Matthews has made a final decision. Not that he has formally requested a trade, but that the act of sitting across from Chayka and hearing the organizational vision laid out is not, on its own, sufficient to resolve the uncertainty that has been building since the end of the regular season. Matthews said himself through league sources weeks ago, the only sales pitch he needs is real action, not a presentation, not a 12-point plan delivered with conviction and organizational polish. Moves. Tangible, visible, undeniable evidence that the people running this franchise are capable of building something worthy of his remaining prime years. John Chayka meeting Auston Matthews, Craig Berube, Toronto, coaching future. The Berube dimension is worth examining separately because it has been somewhat lost in the avalanche of roster and trade conversation dominating the discourse. Craig Berube is still the coach. His status heading into next season has generated its own layer of uncertainty, with TSN's Overdrive panel specifically asking how long his leash is if he starts the season in Toronto. That is not a vote of confidence from the hockey media establishment. That is a signal that the coaching situation remains genuinely unresolved beneath the surface of the front office transition. Chayka meeting with both Matthews and Berube simultaneously is a deliberate organizational message. He is evaluating the entire leadership structure of this team at once. The roster, the coaching staff, the culture, the relationship between the star player and the person behind the bench. All of it is on the table in a summer that has no room for comfortable assumptions about what stays and what changes. If Matthews and Berube do not have a strong working relationship, if the player has reservations about the coaching environment that go beyond the roster composition concerns, then the meeting dynamic becomes significantly more complex than a simple pitch for organizational vision. Craig Berube, Toronto Maple Leafs, coaching future 2026 offseason uncertainty. Now, let's address the Matthews to the Devils speculation, because it is circulating loudly enough that it cannot be ignored even if the substance behind it remains thin. The framework being discussed involves Matthews going to New Jersey in a blockbuster package. The Devils have draft capital. They have young talent. They have organizational ambition and a fan base hungry for the kind of star-level acquisition that changes a franchise's identity overnight. Matthews is from the Southwest United States, which makes Eastern markets feel slightly less natural as destinations than the California connection with Los Angeles that has been discussed more extensively. But here is the fundamental problem with any Matthews trade scenario right now, regardless of the destination. His no-movement clause means he controls where he goes. He is not asked to go anywhere. He has expressed uncertainty. He has communicated through surrogates that he wants to see roster improvement before committing. Those are meaningfully different postures than a player pushing for an exit. Trading a player who has not requested a trade who has 2 years and $26.5 million remaining on his contract, who just broke your franchise's all-time goal-scoring record, based on uncertainty rather than certainty, is an organizational decision of staggering consequence that requires a level of conviction that the current reporting does not support. Auston Matthews' no-movement clause trade request Devils blockbuster. Chayka's directive from ownership, stated publicly on TSN, was explicit and unambiguous. Do whatever it takes to win a Stanley Cup. TSN, that directive does not say rebuild around McKenna. It does not say accept a transition period. It says win the Stanley Cup, whatever it takes. That organizational mandate is incompatible with trading your best player based on uncertainty rather than an actual trade demand. You do not do whatever it takes to win a Stanley Cup by moving a Hart Trophy winner in his prime, because the situation feels uncomfortable. You do whatever it takes by building a roster around him that makes staying the obvious choice. The Marner element surfacing in the discourse is its own emotional grenade that Leafs Nation has to process separately from the organizational decisions at hand. Watching a player who left Toronto thriving elsewhere is painful regardless of the circumstances surrounding his departure. The frustration is legitimate and human and completely understandable. But Marner's success elsewhere does not change what the Maple Leafs need to do with Auston Matthews. Those are separate conversations that the discourse keeps collapsing into a single emotional narrative when they should remain analytically distinct. Mitch Marner thriving after leaving Toronto Maple Leafs fan frustration. Here is where everything currently stands in the most honest framing possible. Chayka has his mandate. Win the Stanley Cup, whatever it takes. He has the first overall pick and almost certainly Gavin McKenna incoming. He has approximately $22 million in cap space to work with. He has a blue line that needs fundamental reconstruction. He has a forward depth group that requires significant upgrading. He has a coaching situation that has not been definitively resolved. And he has a franchise player who is watching all of it unfold with the specific intention of determining whether this organization deserves 2 more years of his prime. The meeting with Matthews is not the resolution. The meeting is the opening of the conversation that the roster moves must then validate. Chayka can say everything right in that room. He can articulate a vision that is compelling and credible and backed by genuine organizational intelligence. Matthews will listen. He will evaluate. And then he will watch what happens in the weeks that follow. Thomas Harley, Simon Nemec, Darren Radish, Alex Touch, the blue line reconstruction, the forward depth additions, the cultural reset that Matt Sundin's presence is supposed to anchor. All of it gets evaluated by the most important audience of one this franchise has. Toronto Maple Leafs offseason moves Matthews' evaluation Chayka building. TSN's Overdrive panel framed it precisely when they noted that Matthews is evaluating the entire package, not just one good winger acquisition. TSN, that is the standard being applied. Not a single move, not a flashy free agent signing that generates a news cycle. The entire roster, the entire culture, the entire organizational direction communicated through the sum total of every decision made between now and training camp. Chayka has never operated in an environment with this level of resource, this level of scrutiny, and this level of consequence attached to every decision. Arizona was difficult in different ways, but the stakes in Toronto are categorically different from anything in his previous experience. This is a defining test of his career, and the clock is running. So here's the question I want answered in the comments tonight, and I want genuine engagement rather than reflexive takes. After everything you have heard from Johnston, LeBrun, and the TSN panel this week, do you believe Auston Matthews is still a Toronto Maple Leaf when training camp opens in September? Or has this situation passed the point where any roster move can fully repair what is fractured? Because that answer tells us everything about the next chapter of this franchise. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. The most important meeting in Maple Leafs history is about to happen, and we are not looking away for a single second. Leafs Nation, we face this together.